Hey guys, Motorcarnut here, and today we're going to be assembling a 2.0 Audi VW TSI TFSI engine together. I figure I'll do this video to show you how I do it. Right now, the block is as it is. It does have a couple little accessories on it. The crank is in with the pistons. I'm going to link two videos down below with the torque specs of the crank, main bearing caps, and the rod bearing caps in sequence, okay? And then after that, you'll be up to this area right here. I mean, the water pump is on. So from here on, we're gonna assemble it. I got the head on the bench over here. All right, I replaced all the valves, and we got the new head bolts. Okay, now I'm gonna install the head. I'm gonna put the head on, and then show you how to torque it down. All right, I just put the head on, no bolts yet. And a good idea is always put pressure from here and here at the same time, both arms, and then from here to here. Make sure it's not rocking too bad. Make sure it's just a little bit from the cushion of the head gasket, because if it's rocking and you didn't check, of course you always should have to check the straightness of the block and the head deck. And if you don't do that, you can have leaks. So, but this is just to make sure that the pins, everything is seated nice before you put the head bolts on. You just want it as flat as possible. Okay, now to torque them down, VW, usually you go 1, 2, 3, 4 in a star pattern. They don't want you to do that. They want you to, there's 10 bolts. So you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So you start over here in the middle pretty much. So you do 1, 2, or you can do 1, 2. It doesn't really matter according to them. So how I do it is do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. That's the sequence, okay? You start like that. So the first pass, you're going to use a torque wrench. All right? I like using this mechanical one. 30 foot-pounds. And before we start, you're going to need a special tool. You see this tool? It looks like a Torx, but it's not. This is the Torx. You see how it's more star pointed? And this one is more flat. You see what I'm saying? You got to use a special tool, plus it has to be long like this. You can get them online. You just put up your year, make, and model, and it'll come up. And then you're going to need a half-inch drive socket like that, and maybe a piece of pipe so you don't have to strain yourself. Okay, so the first order is 30 foot-pounds, that same sequence, all 10 of them. Then you're going to come back. All right. You can start right here in the middle. You can start as this is number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, like that. And then you're going to do 90 degrees. Let me put this the other way so I can show you. All right. 90 degrees is basically horizontal. All right. 90 degrees is like that. All right. So you do that. Again, the same sequence, all 10 of them. Then you're going to come back and do an additional 90 degrees. And that's where it helps sometimes to use a piece of pipe. But make sure this is straight first. Make sure that's straight. Then when you put the pipe on, make sure that you're at 90 degrees and not a little less. Okay, 90 degrees, and you do the same thing, all 10 of them. So you're doing 30 foot-pounds, 90, and 90 angled degrees. Okay, you don't need an angled torque wrench. All right, and before you start them, make sure that you put a little bit of grease on the bottom of the heads and some oil on the threads. Now, when you're tightening them down, you don't want them to like chop. You're going to hear them pop, pop, pop. That's not good. They have to, the bolts, when you tighten them, everything has to be smooth. So that's that's a very accurate torque measurement. If you're doing them and all of a sudden they're going like this, pop, 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 like that, that means they're too dry. You got to take the bolts out, re-lube them, and then and do it again, all right? You don't want to rely on that where you may have like 30 pounds and all of a sudden it jumps. So you don't want to do that. It has to be smooth, all right? You guys that did this before, you probably know what I'm talking about. Okay, it can't skip. as you tighten them, it can't like screech and be choppy. And then these 4 bolts over here, these are Torx, regular Torx 30. You do with a 1/4-inch torque wrench. They want 71 inch-pounds first, all 4, and then an additional 90. Like that. All right, all 4 of them. And then that's how you install the cylinder head. Now we're going to flip it over and start installing everything on the bottom. All right, so you want to get that surface ready for the bottom piece of the oil pan. And what I like to do is I like to get a single edge razor blade like this, brand new, and go over everything nice and like this. You'll feel it. You'll feel any kind of gasket material left on. Do it nice, completely use like, 2 brand new gaskets. 2 brand new razors. Then get some like carburetor cleaner or something on a rag, and then clean it up. And then use a nice clean part of the rag and clean it up again on both sides. And then that's ready for the gasket maker. And now we're gonna get the bottom piece ready to install it. Okay, so now the bottom part of the engine, the aluminum piece, you have to make sure it's all clean. Do the same thing I did on the block. You use a nice scraper, scrape it, don't dig into there, just get off all the gasket material. All right, and with this one we're gonna do, you gotta pay attention that you're gonna get it from here, because after from here to here, you don't have to put gasket maker, because that's where the seal is, for the rear main seal. And the same thing in the front, you only go to here, because this is open to the gears and everything. All right, the timing in the front of the car. So you only want to basically seal the sides off, and you have to get some kind of a pick like this or something like this to scrape this little channel. All right, make sure it's all free and clear. And you want to put the gasket maker from here, all right, all the way around here. Got to be careful on this side when you put it here, not to put it too much where it blocks this oil return. All right, so you just put, I'm going to show you what it looks like. And then we're going to install it. There's 9 bolts. Wait, 2, 4, 6, 8. I think there's 13 bolts that have to be installed with the Torx. A Torx 45. All right. And again, just make sure this is clean. We're going to lay it on top, and we're going to tighten it up. And what I like to use is this ultra black, it's from Permatex. I've been using this for years and years. This stuff is great. They even have stuff called Right Stuff, where actually you can install, let's say, a valve cover, and you can use the car right away. This, you got to wait 24 hours, and it doesn't really matter because the engine's not going to be in the car running in 24 hours, so it doesn't really matter. But this is a great product to use. That's what I'm using. And that's how I do it. All right, now put over here, make it thinner so it doesn't squish too much inside. And see over there, so when it squishes, it doesn't squish too much inside and block the oil passage. All right, and now I'm just going to install it. All right, and then you torque them down. Basically, what you do is you go like this. You go this way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whichever way it is, you work your way to the front. That's what they want. And you're going to do it 11 foot-pounds first, all the bolts. And then you're going to do it, same thing, a 1/4 turn. Like from here to here, a 1/4 turn. Same thing, all working from the back all the way to the front. And then that's torqued. All right, and then you install the oil pump with the chain. All right, the same rotation as you took it off, unless you're replacing the chain. You put it install it first, like this, and it locks into a certain position, and you tighten down those 3. All right, this one has the longer bolt, and these 2 are the same length. Same thing, Torx 45, 10 pounds, and then a 1/4 turn, all 3. Okay, then this splash shield goes on. Just noting that the seal here is still here. This one right here. Okay, and it has 3 Torx 30 bolts. All right, then we got 1, 2, and 3. We tighten them down to 70 inch-pounds, and then an eighth of a turn, 45 degrees, 8, like that, not the whole 90, okay? 70 inch-pounds, and then 45 degrees, and the same thing you're gonna do on the oil pan bolts itself when I put it on next. All right, and I like to put a nice, even, gasket maker with my finger. First I put it on with the gun, and then I smear it so it's in contact all the way around, pretty much the same height. And then when I put it on, I'm gonna show you something that I do. What I do is when I line it up, I put something in the hole to make sure it bottoms out and gets most of the gasket maker out before I put the screw in. And I put the screw in. I do that to each hole. And the reason why, if you just put the screw in like this, it's going to create a pressure in there. And believe it or not, it can crack the casing, the aluminum casing. All right, so you got to do that. And plus, once you do that, you know you have gasket makers on both sides all the way around, and it never leaks. Okay, we flip it back up, and then we put oil in the lifter areas right here. On the journals right here, all the little lifter areas right here. All right, all those holes. And up in here. Okay, because now we're going to put the lifters in with the rockers, and then we're going to put the camshafts in. And right here, I just wanted to make a little bit of a note. The lifters on the TSI engine, the Volkswagen engines, they're all the same on the intake side, but on the exhaust side, we have the TFSI engine. I'll show you the difference in the lifter. You see this? This is the Volkswagen for intake and exhaust up until 2016. Then you have this one that has this little roller on it. All right, that's for the hydraulic exhaust solenoids on the exhaust side. That keeps the exhaust open when the computer wants it to allow more flow into the exhaust, and the turbo for that little bit extra horsepower. So whichever engine you're using, make sure these go on the exhaust side. And they're all lubed up. It's very easy. Just put them in the hole. All right, it shouldn't be forced in there, and make sure that it's not off to the side. You know, when you install it, it's not like that. Make sure it's on top of the valve stem seal like that. All of them, on both sides. And an important thing, if you're reusing the lifters, if they're okay and you're going to reuse them, when you take them out, whatever location you take them out, make sure you put them in the same exact location, because they do have an individual, they wear individually, you know, all different between each cylinder. And if you put one in the other, you may cause a little bit more excessive wear, maybe even a noise. So they all have their own individual wear patterns, and whatever, you know, hole you took them out, you make sure you put them back in the same way. And I just wanted to show you the difference in the exhaust. This is the TSI. This is the TFSI. You see, it has different. It has little grooves here for the solenoids to keep the valves of the exhaust side open more. But you can see that they're different. You see over here, these don't have it. All right, the cams are installed. Cam covers installed. You're gonna have to watch the video on how to set the exhaust cam before you put it in. It's a procedure in itself. So you watch that video, and you'll know how to get to this area that we are right now. All right, cam covers on. All the gears are aligned the way they're supposed to be. And now we're going to take it from there, because that's a separate procedure that you have to do on the exhaust valve lift cam. It has all different types of components. And so now we're at this part where we're going to, you see we're pretty much at the 11, and over here at the 1. Well, there's links on here, colored links. You see this color link is on here, and this color link is here. So we have to move the cam over a little bit, all right? And then we're gonna put locks. There's locks that go into these ports where the bridge goes, I'm going to show you those locks, and that just keeps the cams so they don't move. And we could do the bottom one too. I'm going to just show you all the marks. They look like this. This one goes this way and has like a little notch that goes in between the gears. Like this one, you see this? And it slides in, and that's going to keep it from moving. Now this one, we're going to get an 18mm wrench and go right there on that, not the lobe, right next to it. There's going to be a slot. See it right there? And just a little bit, you want to move it until it lines up. And then we're going to screw this one in. This one goes like this. First you can see, because it can slide, so you screw it first. And tight. And then we're going to grab an opening 18mm. And you put it right here. Like that. And we can move it a little bit. And if you're getting a new tensioner, it's going to have the clip already on it because this has to be released once it's installed. If not, you just get a C-clamp and you slowly compress it while you're holding the spring. You see this little spring right here? You have to squeeze the spring in and wiggle it so when you're compressing it, it doesn't bind up. And you keep doing it until you can put... See this little ridge? That's where this part goes. And in the middle, I'll show you what that little tool looks like in another set. It's like this. And it goes in there like that to lock up the tensioner. So now, what we're going to do, you see what I did? We got the colored mark right there, and this one right here. And now we're going to find the top dead center on the bottom, or the mark anyway. It's a little bit less than top dead center. And then we're going to find that mark, and we're going to put on this guide first. So you want to keep a lot of slack on this side, keep this side a little tight so you can slide it up inside over here. All right, I'm going to show you that too. Okay, let me show you what I did. Over here we got the color link matched up to that one. This matched up to that one. And on the bottom, you see it? That one over there matched up to this color link. Okay, so that now you know that your timing is fine. All right, that ain't gonna jump. Now you put, when you put the, you put this one on first, this guide. What you do is you hold it and you turn it counterclockwise to keep slack so you can slide this one in. It slides right in, even with the tool in place. All right, and then once you put this one in, these are M10. Let me see. What is this? Yeah. M10, that's the triple square spline drive, whatever you feel like calling it. All right, all three of those bolts, and then once you slide this in, then you do it clockwise. Make this a little tight, so now you have play on this side. All right, to slide this one in and put the bolt here, and again, it still goes in with the tool still there. And now you just put your timing chain tensioner. Alright. It goes right here like this. Alright, you tighten it down, and then you take this pin out. Alright, let me just pull this out like that. And what you want to keep this on the second ring. You see that? Keep it on the second ring like that if it's not already there. That should be good, because when the engine shuts off, this is going to move in because there's not going to be no oil pressure, and it won't go anywhere and it won't jump like the old timing chain tensioners do. Now, this is the new style. All right, if yours has this one, you're good to go. If yours has this one with this collar, you got to get rid of that as soon as possible. Do not put the engine together with this one; it's going to fail. If that's not the reason you're doing this whole job to begin with, the timing chain job anyway. All right, so when we have the valve timing all set up, all right, what we're going to do now is you're going to put in these pins just like this. These are camshaft pins, all right? You put one in here, two in the middle here, and one on the end here. This is exactly where they got to go. Don't put them anywhere else. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn the crankshaft 4 times. So we're going to turn basically the whole complete cycle twice. But we're going to turn the crankshaft 4 times complete. All right? And as we're turning it, push these in little by little, make sure that they're all seated again. And what that's doing is just basically lining up the cams a little bit better. So when you put the solenoids in and you start the car up, there'll be no codes or no binding. All right, like so. And you just keep an eye on them. You watch them. Make sure they're sliding in and out. Like I said, you can touch them. Make sure that they're... Is it necessary? That's how I do it. I never have problems. Other people don't use it. And then all of a sudden they're on the forums asking about codes. So just do it the way they say to do it. See that one's coming out again? See? You just do it like a quarter turn. Or better yet, have somebody else do it while you're just tapping them, making sure that they're going in their slots, all 4 of them. And like I said, 4 times. All right, so now, and the oil pump chain doesn't have marks on it. You just put it, you just make sure it's on the gear, and you just put it back on. Again, like that, it fits. Just make sure it's turning in there. Make sure it's on. See? All right, and then this is the tensioner. All right, you just put it on like this, and then we're gonna put tension with the spring. All right, and once you tighten the bolt here, you just go like that, and make sure it's seating in nice. Nothing binding, making noise, and that's it. All right, so now I'm gonna take off the silicone all over here, and we're gonna put on the timing cover, and that's what we're gonna do next. But before we do that, we're gonna put on the cam bridge, and that's nuts. It just goes on. All right, maybe make sure you lube it up, assembly lube in here and in there. And this is a very tight fit. So maybe you can tap it with a little mallet, a rubber mallet, very, very soft. Don't cock it to the side, and she'll slide right on. And you put the bolt and washer. Sometimes this is a 30 Torx. This one's not. And then you put the oil control valve. Oil control valve, it gets tightened the opposite way. Threads that you don't tighten it right, you tighten it to the left. And you're going to need a special tool to tighten that. All right, and then install this cover, plastic cover. Make sure you use a new seal all the way around, because this has vacuum inside. You don't want nothing leaking. The seal here, this rubber seal here, and this O-ring in here. All right, make sure you replace all 3. All right, and then we just install this. All right, if you're reusing the timing cover, just make sure how you took it off. You didn't bend it or nothing like that, because these can leak easily. You want to use a good quality gasket maker all the way around. All right, make sure you clean up the surfaces here. And then you just put it on. and you tighten your bolts. Like I said, I have all the torque specs. I'm going to put the torque specs to the engine, the TFSI and TSI engine, in the description. All right, and once you install that, you install the fill tube. Make sure you tighten all the bolts down. There's an O-ring on the bottom. I would put a new O-ring. All right, then you take out, you got to be careful when you take out the tool that holds all the gears in here. Don't move anything, because this is just right now, if I take my finger, this all pop, and you'll have to do everything, all the timing all over again. That's why you have to put this in. Now, when you put the harmonic balance on, make sure this is clean. All right, you can get a little emery cloth and make sure it's nice and clean, no dirt. Put a little assembly lube on that, and you have to, it only goes on one way. You see this big fat one right here? All right, and all the rest are even. That big fat one, well, that goes in corresponding. Some people just put this on, and you see it's right here. All right. So when you put it on there, just make sure you line it up with that and do the bolt hand tight before you tighten it down. All right. All right, you can install this pulley. That's a Torx 40. Then the solenoids, the lift solenoids for the exhaust, those are Torx 20. Let me see what that was. A Torx 25. And just make sure these are all tight, okay? That's important. And now, you could put the spark plugs in if you wanted to. I didn't do that yet. We're going to do the turbo next. All right? All right, just a side note. When you tighten down this bolt, the center bolt over here, do not use an impact wrench. You'll be ratcheting the chain, and that's not good. It can cause wear and even break it. This has pins that go in here. It's a tool. All right, it snaps in, and then you hold it either with a breaker bar, and then you get a 24-inch socket, 24-millimeter socket, and you torque it down that way. All right, before that, I put the spark plugs in. I put the PCV valve on. Make sure you replace the gasket. All right, now we're going to do the turbo. All right, and make sure you clean the surfaces of the exhaust over here nice and clean with a razor. All right. Put your new gasket. Now we're just going to lay the turbo down, and just got to move these out of the way to lay it down. All right, so it's installed. You watch my videos and I had to put the exhaust manifold on. It just goes in, slides down. These are 12 millimeter. All right, make sure you don't break them. Over here is triple square. That's a 10, triple square M10, M10. All right, and then over here, this little bracket, that's an M8. All right, underneath the water cooler line, it's over here somewhere. It's M8, this one right here, this line right here, M8. Make sure you replace that gasket. All right, and this gasket too for the turbo onto the converter. And what else did we do? And just basically connect the PCV right here, 10 mil, a T30, Torx 30. All right. Just ran these hoses over here. I think that's somewhere where that goes. This one over here, the vacuum line. Just make sure this vacuum line is not cracked. They're known to crack and melt and create vacuum leaks. I have another video on that. And that's where we are right now. I'm gonna think, and then we're gonna continue. All right, so now I got it on the crane, getting ready to put it in the car. We're gonna do the rear main seal now. That's next. All right, so with that, there is an updated seal. Here's the old seal, and again, I have many videos on this too. If you have a bad PCV valve, all right, it can tear, it can, cause extra vacuum to come in from somewhere, and eventually it comes into the main rear seal and tears it. It's crazy how it happens, but it does. But I'll tell you why. Look at this seal. This seal, all right, here's the updated seal. You see the updated seal? It has a spring in there. All right, a lot thicker and beefier. You see that? All right, you see this? You see the spring in here? This is just basically one. It gets hard. Look how hard this is. All right, there's no spring in here, and this is glued on. This is glued on. All right, this one's pressed in. This is glued on, and what happens is the glue over time deteriorates and creates a leak. This one is on there good because this car has 60,000 miles, but you see, and how these are, they just, there's no ring or nothing like that. See, if I peel this back and show you, there's nothing in there. It's nothing. All right, they said this is a better material, it lasts longer. Well, the cars that I work on, these all leak. So maybe it was, good intentions from the engineers or whatever it is, but they wouldn't have made an updated seal if that was so good. So anyway, to put this on, all right, over the crank, you don't want to just slide it on because you can tear the seal. There's this little tool, all right, you see, zoom it in. It's thinner here, and then it gets wider. So this goes in like this. So when we put the seal on, and we're going to install this tool on the seal, when you put the seal on, it just slides right over. It's a little bit thicker than the crankshaft, and it just slides right on without tearing it and without folding it. So we have to just put this in here, and I'll show you what that looks like. All right, and you install that tool like that. Okay, the thinner side on the outside, thicker side like that. Make sure it's level. Clean this surface nice and clean. Same thing with this surface, nice and clean. Make sure over here there's no gasket maker from the oil pan. All right, and now we're going to install it on here, gasket maker, and continue. All right, you put a nice amount on it all the way around. All right, I like to put it on with the caulking gun and then move my finger just to make sure it's seated. And a thin layer here, all right, because you don't want this to leak. You would have to take the engine out or the transmission, so it's not a fun thing. And now we just take it like this, and it has little tabs that are right here and here. But see how this goes like this, so you can have it in a line. You see that? And I can't do it on the camera, but all you do is just make sure it's in line pretty much with the bolt holes. Like this. And all you do is just push it straight on. And that's it. That's what I'm going to do now, but I want to do it, with two hands just in case, I don't want to mess it up. And that's it. It went on, no problem, straight in. And you know what you do? Once you have it all the way seated in, before you put the bolts, get like a thin screwdriver or pick and put it in the holes. So make sure that the gasket maker is not inside the holes, because that throw you off. Especially if this was aluminum and you didn't do that, it can crack. So, you may not be fully seated because you have there's nowhere for that gasket maker to escape. So you put like a screwdriver in there, then clean it off with a towel, and don't do each hole. That's what I did. All right, and then you torque it down, and then you're good, and it looks like that, and you're good to go. Next thing is to put the plate back on and the flywheel. And it just slides on. Just make sure the little tab is behind like that. And a little tip, if you didn't mark the flywheel, because you can't just put it on one way, it won't line up. So what you can do is just look very closely for something like, see, he only has a little circle here and nowhere else. Well, it does have one over there too. Well, you just look for one that's something that looks, you're supposed to mark it where it has the something that's different, like mark here, mark there. Then you look over here, all right, and you can see there was a little mark here and a mark here. So, it either goes this way or the other way, and then it'll go in. You just torque the bolts down, and then you're ready to put it in. So that's basically it for this video. And this is like an assembly video, not a rebuild. I have plenty of videos on this engine, rebuilding all different parts. This is just how I put them together. I thought it would be entertaining for people, or, they don't know how to do, some of the steps, and hopefully it'll help you out. All right? And on this one, it only has 3 converter to flywheel bolts. So I marked them because there's all different holes. So when you put them in, because there's all different holes, and on the bottom where the access hole is, I put the first one there. So once I put that one in, then I know I have one there and one there. And put a little grease on the centerpiece there, so it just slides back in. And that's what I'm going to do. But that ends this video. All right, guys, Motorcarnut, please subscribe, hit that like button. Any questions pertaining to this video, leave them below. I answer all my questions, try to help everybody out. I really appreciate all the feedback and questions and answers, and people that add to the job, their insight. I really appreciate it all. All right, guys, see you in the next video.